So we have some of the most interesting, unique, and amazing meditations, I think, in the world. I mean, we have past life regression meditations, guided hypnosis meditations, Akashic record meditations, as well as healing meditations. Our meditations are pretty cool. And they're not just about stillness of mind and peace and sit there, I mean, we have those too. Don't get me wrong, but these are about meditations that are going to shift and change, and you're going to walk out of there feeling lighter, freer, healed, and even getting guidance and insight. So come down, experience one of our meditations. They're pretty badass. Hi, this is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the podcast, where we educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. Hi there, welcome to another episode of Liberate the podcast. Today we're bringing in one of our very own practitioners. He's been at Liberate Emporium for years, and he might be doing a couple shifts maybe here at Liberate Hollywood. Welcome, Alan. He is a reader. He's a Reiki practitioner. He has a tremendous story of his own healing journey, but also like how he found Reiki and really started to, create this transformational work with this beautiful energy healing. So, Alan,
yes.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. So I want to talk a little bit about, Reiki to begin with, and then hearing how that kind of made its way into your life.
I'd say I was working in shows in Las Vegas for many years, and then I finally decided to come to Los Angeles, and then I walked around going, what am I going to do with my life here? So I decided to go shiatsu school and learn shiatsu. So while I was in the class doing that, there was a girl next to me. She said, by the way, I teach Reiki. Would you like to do it? And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she said, well, just come over to the house and see what happens. So they had a group, and I put hands on the people and stuff like that. They did Reiki on me, and I found the effect quite fantastic. So I thought, okay, I'll take the courses 1, 2, and 3, which I did do, and they all were profound for me. And I learned about Asui in that period. So that brought me into healing and working into hospitals. I took the first group into the major hospitals here when people were sick in the 90s of AIDS. So that was another period where I learned how to use my intuition and use my hands, or actually I should say my voice box. Because you begin to see after you do healing for a long time with your hands, then it starts to transfer as you get stronger. It then transfers to your voice box, so you don't have to touch much anymore. It's
really?
Your voice. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Your voice box cures people. So if I would sit when someone's dying, I could talk to them and it helps them to give them energy. So it comes out of here instead of here.
Isn't that interesting?
I
and
know a lot of
fascinating?
people don't know that.
I've never heard that before.
No, I know.
But it makes sense. I mean, they say sound vibrations and whatnot are healing, and that when people are attuned to different energy vibrations, they actually vibrate at a higher frequency too. So they're like sharing that.
Yes.
But I want to step back a little bit, and the interesting aspect that sticks out is that you weren't seeking it found you, and that sometimes for people that are listening, a lot of times, we don't know what our next step's going to be. And we might take a journey and say, okay, I'm going to study this, or I'm going to go there or here. And you meet somebody that opens a whole new realm for you.
I know. Yeah. Serendipity. There she was. Yeah. Yeah. She was from Copenhagen. She was an excellent teacher, actually.
And so you just jumped in right away and you took all 3 of them.
I took the 3 because I was kind of shyer then.
Okay.
Basically, I've been on stage all my life, but I never really used picking up the voice box again. I was not using my voice box. So I was using my body. So I was on stage, gymnast, dancer, singer, but I didn't really use my voice box talking to people. So that was something new for me. So when I was with groups sometimes, it was hard for me to talk because I was like, I used to do this. I used to use the body. So I had to learn to do that. So Reiki brought me into that.
Now, was there something specific, like the first session that you experienced or the first session that you were giving to somebody that you realized that there was something to it, Oh,
wow. Well, I think I can go back maybe a few months before that. I went to the Bodhi Tree. You've heard of the Bodhi Tree, which is a famous metaphysical store in Melrose. And there was a healer there who did work. And he brought out the table. And he started talking. And I put my hands up and I said, I'm seeing kind of people, which I hadn't before. I said, I'm seeing things and I feel energies. He said, come up here. So he had me do some work on and feel it. And I could feel heat. And I could feel these energies, which I never felt before.
So you were already starting to have that like activation before this person showed up and was like, I can teach you.
Exactly. So he took me to the side and he said, do you know you have an ability here to do it? Because I always had hot hands. When I was a child, I used to faint all the time. When I was in church or something like that, I constantly faint and get huge heat in my body.
Wow.
I've always had that. If any of my lovers sleep with me, they can't stay with me because I'm too hot. They have to get out of bed. I've always been hot and have tons of energy. So even if I go to an acupuncturist, they usually say, we don't understand exactly how you can operate because you have a different beat and you have all this energy in there. How do you do that? We have to calm it down.
Wow.
And they try, but they can't do it.
And so it comes out through healing.
It comes out through healing. So that man who told me I could do that, I said, oh, yeah, you say that. Oh, yeah, sure. Well, yeah. In the beginning, it felt good and I remembered it. But then once I joined the Reiki group, that cemented the whole thing. Does that help you?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, so tell me a little bit about, because I think that it's fascinating. You say that you took it in to the hospitals and that you were bringing it to AIDS patients. Right. And, can you share a little bit on that?
Sure.
Because this was back in the 90s, right?
In the 90s, the hospitals didn't want anybody to really touch the patients because, remember, they thought it was transferred. They didn't know then.
Yeah, they didn't know how.
They didn't know how. And then, of course, all the people in the hospitals, then it was a bit, as Madonna said the other day, she made sense. She said, when she went in New York, she said it was exactly like a Holocaust. What could she say? And I had to say the same thing. So when I decided to go with a Reiki group and go in hospitals, I asked them to let me in, but I said, we do Reiki energy. And because no one had ever done it before in hospitals. And they said, well, we don't know what it is. I said, well, what if we show you on the nurses and the doctors, because they stayed up 24 hours because people died within a few weeks.
Wow.
So they were exhausted. So I said, if you're so exhausted, why don't we work on you? So what we did, we would get them on around a table, and we'd all work on them, maybe 2 or 3 sometimes. And then they found they could sleep, and they could be calm and everything. So that they let us in the hospitals and the hospices also. So we were the first group to get in there.
Wow.
Yeah. So that brought me to what I do today, to readings with tarot cards and be intuitive about my life. So that brought me in that direction.
Okay, so you're doing these sessions in the hospital. How long did you do that for?
Oh gosh, about a year, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, there were 2 major hospices here in Hollywood, in West Hollywood, Carl Bean House. I got it. And the Lynn House. They were very popular. I know they're putting the Lynn House in history and the Carl Bean House because it was women, men, black people. It was all different kinds of people in there. People with cancer. So we would go there. I think we did.
So you were working on more than just
it wasn't just
AIDS patients. You were working on cancer patients.
Schizophrenia. We went with schizophrenias. We went in the hospitals of those. It kind of led us to all that because we said, well, if we can do this, we can do the world, right? So we started doing different modalities in different hospitals.
Oh, wow.
Which was really great.
And I'm sure that the motivation, because the patients were experiencing results.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you can change outcome of people. You really can.
And give them more peace, calmness, sleep better,
yes, you can.
all of that.
And kind of back to Reiki or energy work, which a lot of people don't know. Whatever energy you get from the practitioner who teaches you is the height of the energy you will receive. Oh. So if I say for instance, it was a monk or something, and he prayed all his life, and he was very devotional and pure, if you want to say, that's then transferred to you, which gives you that amount of energy. So then that's why when you go with different Reiki practitioners, they have different energies. They don't have the same. It's always different.
Yeah,
and it can be
nice.
Some people they put their hands on me and say, I can't feel it. And other people, I can tell right away that they've worked on themselves, and you're instantly different. Yeah. I did one on Paul the other day. He mentioned that it changed his life that day.
Wow.
Yeah, he talked to me about it.
Amazing.
You can ask him.
Yeah. Amazing. So then from there, how did you get into doing tarot and stuff? Like, so you're feeling this energy, right. You're seeing these results, you dove in and you said, okay, I'm going to study all these Reikis, but not only am I going to do that, we're going to treat like the most intense cases,
Yes,
right?
true,
You know,
true.
and then from there,
The other thing too is when we did that, because sometimes I'd be called by myself in certain hospitals because someone was alone, didn't have anybody. So I might go at midnight. But I did notice, which started to happen to me, I would go with them when they would die. So that was a new thing for me. This started coming in. So they would give me the journey of what would happen to them.
wow.
And I would go with them as they go out of the hospital. Some of them would go out the roof and they'd disappear into different places. It's too long a story, but they would take me with them.
Wow, can you elaborate just a little on that? Or
I can give you one,
yes,
which is very interesting. What was it? It's the county hospital downtown,
Okay.
near where I live, near Ball Heights. That one I've never been into. That's the oldest hospital, the creepiest now. It's all shuttered up now. Nobody goes in there. It's interesting, after the AIDS period, they closed that hospital.
Interesting.
Yeah, so many people died there. But anyway, I was called, and I'll do as quick as I can.
Yeah, that's fine. We got some time.
I went in. There was a man. I think he was around about 50 or 60, very ill. He had all the cords over him everywhere, and so I went in, and he did talk to me, and I said, "Do you need to talk about family or anything?" He said, "No, I just want to feel good." So I would do the chakras and do all the different areas in his third eye, just to make them calm. But I could usually get if they were about to go. So I remember after I drove home and I went into my apartment and I felt dizzy. And I remember I sat on the chair. And when I sat on the chair, I just kind of semi-closed my eyes and I could see the hospital roof opening. So I actually thought, well, I guess I'll go with it. So the roof opened, and I remember he flew. It's a very interesting story. He flew into Santa Monica Pier, and he went in the ocean to purify himself. So he swam in the ocean and then walked out. And then they had him walk on it was kind of automatic, but anyway, they had him walk on the pier, and each ride that was on the pier was a part of his personality and things that he'd never experienced. So such as the Ferris wheel was part of his life he wished he would have done, say jump out of a plane. Each thing had something to make him feel better for his ascension to leave. So he went on all those things, and once he went on all of them, then he went to the end of the pier, which was, I think there's a restaurant there now, but I think there is an end to that. Yeah. He stood on the end, and I always remember it because it became a painting of mine. He looked, and there was an Egyptian boat pulled up, and all the people on the Egyptian boat had only a third eye, no two eyes, just third eyes. And it was pulled by 3 swans. And so it went up in the air, and it went up into a white temple, and he went into that. And I totally fell down to the floor because I used to paint then, and I did a huge painting of it.
Wow.
So it became a painting which was given to an AIDS patient, and the AIDS patient's lover, who his lover had died, and his name was Alan. So I said, you can have it. So I gave him the painting. Beautiful. So it went away. I've never seen it again.
Amazing.
Yeah. So there's a reason for that too.
So then you started opening up all these psychic abilities and this gift to be able to kind of go into other realms and dimensions. That's what it sounds like was started to happen.
I started seeing things visually then. Like I would paint. I do spiritual paintings, a big large pieces. I paint like Chagall. So it was very ethereal. But that started bringing in all that. Let me think. Where would the oh gosh. So how the tarot came, and as doing readings, that's something I was against. Not against people doing it, but me doing it.
Okay.
I said I do the healing work, but I don't do that. I don't understand the process, and I don't think I need to know it. But little did I know, that's when, I've told you before, that's when I got ill. So after the hospitals, after that is when I got ill, and then I was full of some poison, which doctors don't know how got inside me. So once that happened to me, I had to go through a journey myself, like the people in hospital, from death to life, which took 10 years to get the poisons out of me. And in that process...
What kind of poisons were they?
I was put on a machine in Sydney, and it had the makeup of anthrax. It had you drop dead instantly. But I had the same, it was a Russian machine they put at the hospital. And I had that so much poison, but my knee was that size from poison. So it basically turned off.
So it could have been some poison that was given like in the air. It could have been somebody poisoned you.
We don't know. It's a mystery. I've given in on that one. I let it go. But yeah, that happened here in Hollywood. Got very ill, had to go back to Australia, but I decided, like you, to open a metaphysical store on a bed, because I couldn't operate. My body didn't operate for about 10 years. So I was in a wheelchair. So I actually decided, well, I'll hire some readers and put a little store together with stuff from India and do my own thing in Sydney called Mars Temple. And it ran for 5 years and quite successful. I bought, like you, I bought acupuncturists, I bought readers and all that. But what happened is, as you know, sometimes the readers don't turn up or something happens.
Yeah.
So one of the readers who was a 80, she talked me into doing it. She was what would I call her? She worked in the tea room in New York, a very famous jazz singer. And she ended up in Australia, and she came in one day and asked, could she work in my store? And I said, I don't know, because I could tell she's an alcoholic. But then I needed a reader, so I did hire her, and she saved my life. She's the one who brought me to marijuana, which got me through the pain.
Wow.
And she also, she did healing work herself. And she was the best reader I ever met. And she would say to me every day, you read, that's what you do. I said, I don't do that. But she made me do it.
And so you started to learn through her?
I learned, well, yes, I would say, I'd say even better? She transferred her energy to me because she died right after.
Wow.
Yeah. Died of alcoholism.
And then you could just, it sounds like prior, 10 years prior, you were already getting the messages. You were already seeing the images.
I was getting all the messages, but I didn't know then that I had it within inside myself to actually stand in front. Like me talking to you, I wouldn't do that 10 years ago. It's a piece of cake now, but I couldn't do that before. Yeah. That's the miracle of learning tarot. That's the miracle of, as you know, working with people backwards and forwards like you do.
Yeah.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from just listening to people.
And so I would say that you don't really do just tarot. It sounds like you're getting a lot of clairvoyant messages. You're picking up a lot of 100%, energy. 100%. You're getting like intuitive hits. You're feeling, all of it. All of it. So,
you know what's even deeper now, which is only in the past 6 months? It comes in dreams or it comes in the morning. So in other words, usually 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock I'll sit up. There's a girl, I just got an RV van for her, and it said, tell her she's got to put the oil in the car right now. And I said, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, the engine's going to burn up tomorrow. I said, really? I'm going to do this? So I text her and I said, have you checked your oil in your new RV van? I didn't know how to do that. She said, there's a red lighter flashing all the time. I wonder why. I said, I think you better go. She would have lost the car. I know that's a silly thing, but it's pretty important.
Yeah.
And others are prophecies, but
but you don't even know, like, if it burnt up, it might not just been lost in the car. It could have turned into a fire. She could have lost her life. I mean, there could have been a whole bunch of other things.
Myriads of things, yeah.
But it's about that, having that check and balance of, sometimes I think as intuitives, the need for physical confirmation sometimes to further the trust, right? We don't need it, but like if it's there and it's so blatantly right immediately, like, oh yeah, there's a red flashing light, and I went, and yeah, my car would have burned up because there was no oil in it.
Exactly.
It's like you're getting those responses, and it's teaching you to trust and to invite more messages. Invite more.
Yeah. I told her she was working as a secretary, and I said, you're a reader. Maybe that'll help. She was a reader, and I said, you're supposed to be a writer. I know you are. She says, well, I used to take it in school, and I used to do camera work. I said, really? I said, why don't you start doing this? So she actually one day was at work, and it overpowered her, and she walked out. She had a card that she slides to get a car in, and she just cut it up. She said, I was sitting in the car, cut it up. And I drove out. She says, I'm not doing it anymore. So she became a writer, and she became very good at what she does. She does animation. She does also those characters in Comic-Con. She does all that stuff too. So she transitioned from that to that. And I think if we can help people transition, that's exciting. I like doing that, or doing law cases. I love law cases.
So, I was just going to, my next, you're phasing right into it. Like, what do you like to work on the most? And what do you see that helps people for coming to see you?
I think the best thing which you need to do, you have to do 3 things. You have to, when you sum someone up within a minute, I can get things and go, oh, that's a horrible person. And that's incorrect. So I make sure that my mind is on 0. So I never use my mind, because my mind will tell me a trick, so I don't do that. Yeah. So I make sure my mind's clear of it. It will give me a message. Usually it's right to say, oh, they're doing horrible things. They're not a good person. Say, okay, all right, we'll get there. We have to. So I leave that alone. And then I just go in and I go, okay, So I start with them, and I can figure out within a minute whether I'm supposed to do the mind, or whether I'm supposed to do their spiritual side, or whether it's the body that I have to figure out. Because you can't, if they've got a physical problem that they're not working on and are unaware of it, how the hell are they going to do the spiritual? Because there's some people that do a lot of spiritual work, but there's no body working.
Yeah.
So they
negate the body, and the body's rotten and go, and it's like, hey,
the vehicle has to be all together.
Yeah.
But you can't, if you can't work with the full thing, because some people come and say, why do I have depression all the time? I said, well, because you don't have a spiritual life, and because you don't do anything with your body, your spiritual guides, or who you believe in, are down the corner having coffee at Starbucks. Because they can't come in your energy field, because it's poison to them. So they can't come in until the right moment. So until you find the right, so you start to get the body correct and it's working right, they can start to move in again.
Wow.
So you become higher consciously as those things are fixed. But you have to do the body first. If you don't fix the body, the rest doesn't work. This is just floating around.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I've heard the stronger that the physical body is, also it can be a stronger conduit for energy too, and take in more and be more.
100%. Oh, sure, it is. Yeah.
So,
if the body's not pumping correctly, energetically, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So by sitting and talking with someone, they usually say, I'm sure you with your work too. When they walk out, they say, I look different. So you go look in the mirror. And if you look in the mirror, they've arrived back. So that spirit that was there will come back because they know they're in a good space. I've never said that before to anybody, but that's interesting. Yeah, and so they look in the mirror, you can see their eyes are different, and even wrinkles have gone off their face.
Wow.
It's instant. Yeah, pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, you see this, so you're helping people reacclimate with their body, become aware of their physical,
Right.
but also talk to me a little bit about this mental and this spiritual work that you do with people as well.
Okay. If you want mental and spiritual. Well, mental.
Because you said spiritual, mental, and physical. So.
Well, the first brain is, as we know, is the stomach.
Yeah.
So most people operate from that. They don't operate from this first. So that's all the emotional problems, husband, whatever, food is all in here, which causes all the problems. So once you start being more conscious, then you start reading about knowledge and things like that, which moves to the mind. So that's second. Mm-hmm. Then after second, because most psychiatrists come to see me, I think 50% of my clients are psychiatrists. So they come to me because this is where they are. So they work with that and this. And so then they say, well, how do I get out of this? Because they can only do so far. And especially if they haven't read a lot of spiritual work, they can't go past their thought process. So once you move past the thought process, then you go to the spiritual. You can know the spiritual you want, but you can't get there until you let go, or the mind must disintegrate for it to go there. Once it goes there, that's where true miracles lie. That's why you can't do it. Say if you've got a body problem or emotional problems and all that, very hard to get there, to get the pure magic of life flowing right. Yeah. So my life pretty much flows really well. My life's always been magical. It's magical because I let it kind of flow, so I don't go against it.
Yeah, you take it. It sounds like the whole journey of where, from showing up in LA to taking the classes to going back and allowing yourself to just be at one with the poison that was in your body and heal and recover.
Well, you can look at it, the poison is God or goddess or whatever you believe it to be. That poison was meant to be in you and is meant to change you. So eventually you have to embrace and say, thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me the journey that I had. And now I feel that it can go now. You have the strength to let it go. Yeah. It all depends. It depends. You can look at it and get angry. You could get it away from that. But if you do that, then it might stay and turn to something else. Right. It can turn to another problem.
Right.
So it has to go.
Exit and then you start your journey over again, right? So that's really important. I I see that with clients and also some other people that I've interviewed over the past and things like that, that level of sheer gratitude for the circumstances, even the most painful problematic circumstances in life, because it is there to serve. Right?
Yeah, there's no such thing as just all wonderful. There's positive and negative is so powerful and fantastic. Most people get upset if I say, well, God's negative and positive. How lucky are we? We get to experience the two, which gives us a chance to raise our consciousness. If we're just in one, it won't work. We have to have the poison to have the other.
Yeah,
and it all depends on your karma, what you've done all the years or what you've avoided. And I really believe in karma big time. And then eventually, then you get to a point that the karma's gone, and then you can kind of live in a more blissful world. But that has to be real. It can't be fake.
Yeah,
I can pick that one up easy.
Yeah,
when someone's fake.
Yeah, and so that duality that we have,
the ego has to die. Mm-hmm. Yeah. People are afraid to, it's so funny, people are afraid to cut their ego off. And once you cut it off, then you're in happiness. So it's not that bad to work at the ego. It's pretty good.
Not so bad to let it go, right?
No, it's good to be in Hollywood and have a big ego because it gets you where you want. But then a lot of,
But does it? Because then because it gets you the tangible things that you think you want.
Yes.
But the happiness and the fulfillment that you thought that it was going to bring you sometimes doesn't happen.
Well, it all depends. Yes, it's correct. It all depends on your mind, how it works, what you think of things, and what's your idea of it all. Because the old people like Charlie Chaplin, Lillian Gish, all the original people were deeply spiritual. Mm. So that's why their movies never die. You look at them and you find them fascinating. The same as people did the sets in the old silent movies and stuff. You can't copy them because they're done spiritually. They're done so beautifully. Even Dracula, they're all done incredibly. So that's why you just go, wow, because the energy transfers itself through.
Yeah, there's heart and soul in everything they do.
But they had to have an ego. Oh, good to go. Sorry.
No worries.
It's all right. It didn't ring. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Letting go of the ego.
Yeah, letting go of the ego. Yeah, it's the most important.
And, I know that you do a lot of intuitive coaching, health coaching work as well. So it's not just
especially film.
So not just coming in and somebody, you can work through as I hope that people are hearing that you have tremendous amount of wisdom. You've been through a lot in your life and you've overcome a lot and helping people guide and feel and sense and get into those places.
I remember since 5 years old I was on stage. My whole life traveled all around the world. Ended up in Las Vegas working the big French shows. And I've worked in the ballet company there. Also ran my own business. All vintage clothing was famous on the Strip. So all those have made me the person that I am today. Yeah. So I love to work on businesses. I love to work on people in the film industry particularly, or people that aren't confident. They might be beautiful, but they're not confident in themselves. Mm-hmm. I love to bring that forwards. Oh, it's so much fun to watch. And I also dress them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. What do they call that? Fairy godmother? I like to dress them a certain way to change them as they transfer them. So as I watch them transfer. So when people come to me more often, I study them and I say, well, why don't you change your hair color? Because I know how to do all that from being on stage and sets. So I can kind of put them into, if they want to be Hollywood, I can put them into a Hollywood look. So when they walk in a room, people notice them.
Yeah, and you can shift and help them get that energy that's even more...
Yeah, and find their true selves anyway. That's who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's written in their heart anyway.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, thanks.
What else would you like to share, Alan?
What else can I say? I'm not sure which area you want to talk about, though.
So let's we can dive a little bit into, where you see yourself going on your own journey too.
I like that. Since my life is pretty much devotional, I've studied all religions, but I'd have to say I'm pretty much Hindu these days, mm-hmm. because Hinduism was not a religion, never was. It was the English who put that on them. They were nature worshippers. All the goddesses were all parts of ourselves, and the Vedas, which are quite old, actually show you how as the things I was just talking about, show you how all the energies do work inside yourself or exteriorly, and how the ego is, one of our problems. But anyway, it's all written in there. So I study a lot of that, and I study a lot of the gods and goddesses, which took me to India, and I went all over India. So I would say in the future would be me moving to India.
Ah, yeah, that'd be amazing.
That's where I'd like to finish up a part of my life for sure. But for now, I think I'd like to get involved in film, actually. I think I would like to do film and more in the directing area and stuff like that. I would like to do that.
Well, you have all the intuition, spiritual knowledge, experience.
And painting. I haven't painted for years. I have to paint again. Yeah, I do large murals.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan, where can people find you?
I can find me at Hollywood. Here, I might work here one day. I'm just talking that with her now.
Yeah.
Then you can find me over at in Los Feliz at Liberate Emporium. I work there on Wednesdays. I do work one other place, but I won't say where.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Oh, I work at Alexander in Pasadena. I've been there, I think, about 6 years. And I think I've been with you, about 3?
3 or 4, yeah.
I think something like that. Yeah, and I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, and something told me this morning, because I'm intuitive, that I'm coming here. I just went, really? And they said, yeah, you're coming here now. So I think I might be here more often.
That's amazing. Well, we'd love to have you. Yeah. And if you could leave everybody with one thing, what would it be?
Oh, gosh.
I know it's
as everybody says, if you don't meditate, you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, you can try all you want, but if you don't find at least an inner side of yourself, life is very difficult. Because if you don't go into your heart, and if you don't work on it, because it's waiting there for you to do something, if you don't go internal and you think everything external that you look at, it's not going to bring a lot of happiness after a while, right? Like you said, like Hollywood, you can get all the money and the houses and all that, but then you look at it all, you've got to clean it, you got to fix it. If you haven't done the inner work and you sit there in the house all by yourself, the journey is not easy.
Yeah.
It's much easier to go inside and just even take 5 minutes and go inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or come see you and you can help them explore that.
Yeah, you got it. Definitely.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Alan.
I enjoyed it a lot.
It's been a pleasure. I love you.
I love you.
And thank you all for joining.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Oh, at the end.
That was the end.
That was great.
If you enjoyed this conversation, like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want some more amazing resources on your path of liberation, head over to liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram at Liberate Hollywood, all one word, or Liberate Emporium, all one word. Until next time, liberate yourself.
If you're thinking that you want to take that action step, why wait? Book your session right now. Go to liberateyourself.com, click on either Liberate Hollywood or Liberate Emporium, see our amazing practitioners and who resonates most with you. And then book a session via Skype, phone, or in person. We're here for you, and it's your time to start creating your life.